This lecture forms part of a series with the overall title The Journey Within, held at the headquarters of the Theosophical Society, 50 Gloucester Place, London, W1U8EA, in the spring and summer of the year 2010. It took place on Sunday the 9th of May, was entitled Qabalah, Yoga of the West, and was given by Yiannis Pittis. The programme notes summarize its contents thus. The symbol of the Tree of Life reveals the mystical journey to self-realization. In this lecture, we will learn how to practice spiritual alchemy, the transmutation of our base passions into that of compassion. It is an urgent matter for every true student to learn how to integrate the personality so that it may become a perfect instrument for the expression of the I Am presence. Only then the true light within may flow unimpeded, manifesting goodness, truth, and beauty in all aspects of life. You may be a beginner or an advanced student. If from this talk you can be reminded of even one particular outward and visible action that represents an inward and invisible reality, you will have gained a powerful aid to accelerate your evolution. Yiannis Pittis has lectured on the Kabbalah and related disciplines for more than 25 years.
Much. Thank you. It is a beautiful place to be here, especially with all the redecoration, the repairs, and it's really a great privilege. And I want to thank everyone that has worked to upgrade and to create this beautiful environment. And we should all be supporting it because it is, like this book, a fountain of healing light in the midst of this city, which needs a lot of healing, and it needs a lot of spiritual awareness, for there are lots of crises in our world, not only political, not only economic, not only environmental and climatic, but in every part of our human endeavor we meet with one or other obstacle, with difficulties and crisis. And we have to realize that crisis has an opportunity for consciousness to either expand and move into a higher dimension or contract and really move into the realm of separateness. And those who are awake have a grave responsibility, i.e. to really inspire others to see the crisis as an opportunity for expanding our consciousness in a higher field of work, in a greater cooperative spirit, in a greater awareness of the unity of the one life, as our brother Colin has said. And really, the Yoga of the West is a title that Dion Fortune gave to the Kabbalah to inspire the Westerners with the idea that they have also their own Western tradition by means of which they can attain self-realization. And that is essentially what is the study of the Kabbalah. It is a means by which we can attain self-realization and expansion of consciousness so that we may express in all aspects of our life that which is good, beautiful, and true, and really have the joyful and blissful and happy essence of our being instead of the separateness, the conflicts, the resentments, the jealousies, and all the rest of it. So usually we actually start with an inner meditative process, a path working as it is called, and we will do so today as well. And the whole process of this inner meditation is to really align and integrate our lower personal vehicles and surrender them to our divine self. So would you like to take part in that? If you do, we'll go straight into it, okay? So close your eyes. Bring your awareness to the brow of the forehead. From there, survey the physical form. Acknowledge it being in this place in space. Allow your awareness to include the in-breath and the out-breath. Be aware of that rhythm. Do not interfere with it. Just be aware of it. Be aware of the heartbeat. Be aware of the whole physical body. And if there is any tension anywhere, take a comfortable deep breath, bringing in vitality from the universe. Hold the breath for a moment and then see that it is being directed to where the tension is, and see the tension releasing, evaporating, transmuting, liberating that part of your body from that constriction. We scan the body really like a scanner scans and copies things. Our mind is the original scanner, acknowledging the outer space all around us that we call the aura, acknowledging the physical form. Let us bring our awareness now to the navel and see there a blue point of light. And as we focus our awareness and we breathe in and out, we see it expanding, becoming like a radiant sphere that encompasses the abdomen, the private area, the lower back. It comes out to the front and to the back. This blue sphere represents wholeness and well-being for our physical form. We borrow our physical form from planet Earth, whose radiance is blue. So see that sphere as well defined as we can. And right in front of you now see an upward pointing fivefold star. And bring slowly that fivefold upward pointing star inside the blue sphere. This star represents the perfect archetype, the fivefold perfect archetype of the human body and the human personal individual consciousness. May it awaken that spirit of perfection in our physical form and our personality too. See the star radiant within the blue sphere. May perfect health reign in our physical bodies. We bring our awareness now to the heart center. See a pink point of light. Pink is the color on the emotional plane of the vibration of the heart center. Green is on the etheric plane, and golden is on the spiritual planes. So we see pink expanding and radiant, creating a beautiful sphere of a pink color that embraces the chest, embraces the shoulders, comes out to the front and to the back, coming up to the throat area. It links with the blue sphere like two links of a chain, thereby integrating the emotions with the physical form. Let us see a six-rayed star in front of us, and as we breathe in and out, bring that six-rayed star inside the pink sphere. The six-rayed star, among other things, is also a symbol of balance and harmony. And it is balance and harmony that the heart center needs so that it may do its holy work, balancing the energies of the three centers below with the energies of the three centers above. And thereby the six-rayed star is a perfect symbol for the heart area and our emotional body. May the spirit of harmony, beauty and balance ever reign in our emotions. Let us bring our awareness now to the midpoint of our heads. See there a golden point of light with a touch of violet. See that expanding and creating a magnificent sphere like a halo all around our head, like the halos that we see in the pictures of saints. This represents our mental body. Let us see before us a three-sided pyramid, and slowly bring it as we breathe in and out into that golden sphere, and see our consciousness inside that golden pyramid. How does it feel to have your consciousness inside that three-sided pyramid? The golden sphere, the pink and the blue are linked like the three bodies of physical, emotional, and mental. Let us now turn our inner vision to the vastness of space, out of which comes a dazzling, brilliant countenance. Out of that darkness emerges the brilliance, the limitlessness, the absolute light. From it emanate sparks in every direction. These sparks represent our divine monads. As they descend, they become beams of light. We see that beam of light descending, interpenetrating the zenith of our aura, going right through the golden, pink and blue spheres to the nadir of our aura. It is our spiritual soul, the light within. Let your personal consciousness identify with that. Surrender to that. And from that central beam of light that interpenetrates the spinal column, see finer myriads of rays emanating, raising the vibrations of the three spheres and beyond into our spiritual aura, into that greater egg that is the fourth sphere, the spiritual aspect of the self. Let these words flow through your consciousness that one of the great teachers has given to the world. I am a point of light within this greater light. I am a strand of loving energy within a stream of love divine. I am a spark of sacred fire within the fiery will of God, and thus I stand. I am a way for other human beings to attain. I am a source of strength enabling others to stand. I am a beam of light shining upon my path, and thus I stand. And standing thus, I turn and walk this way, the way of a man or a woman, yet knowing the way of the one, and thus I stand. And standing thus, we all now send forth our love and light as a blessing to the whole wide world, to all human beings, to all living creatures. May we sound the sacred word Om, as we are in this place in space. The Theosophists always use the Om as a symbol of the one invisible source of all life, light, and power. Let us begin. We see the light cascading from here outwardly, embracing the whole community, the whole of London around the M25, and beyond that the whole of England, Europe, and the whole of our planet, empowered by the blessings of the greater ones, in whose service we all aspire to be. Be aware again of your physical form. Be aware of these spheres of influence and self-expression. Be aware of your inner beam of light. Link the heart with the brow and the crown into an inner abstract triangle. And with your awareness in the center of that triangle, when you are ready, you may open your eyes and be here. Thank you. Thank you. This practice is born out of the Tree of Life and the particular symbol of the Tree of Life that you see as a glyph here. There are 3 versions of it. It doesn't mean that there are 3 different types of Kabbalah. It just means that throughout the ages, the Tree of Life and Kabbalah have been used by many traditions, by many religions, by many peoples throughout the world. This teaching is really the teaching of the divine. Kabbalah means the received teaching. The teaching that has been received by human beings, i.e. given to them, revealed to them, either by their higher self or by the divine archangel Metatron or by the great spiritual teachers of our planetary hierarchy. And at different times, because it was given to different peoples, different nationalities, different races, with different needs at those times, it was given in slightly different form. And so you have this, which is primarily the Hebraic representation of it. You have that, which is primarily the ancient Greek representation of it, of the caduceus of the Hermes, and the actual constitution of that represents also our human living tree of the spinal column, the blood system, so the nervous systems, and consciousness expanding its wings and expanding to embrace ever greater aspects of the one life. And here we have another representation of a more of a Christian expression, as John the Divine is one of the patrons of the teachings of the Tree of Life, for he was the beloved of the Christ, and indeed he was a great teacher, and he still is a great teacher of this particular aspect of the divine wisdom. And so here you see the triangle, and the triangle represents really the Christian basis, the divine threefold aspects of the one God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And above it you see 3 veils coming out of the darkness. Well, the darkness symbolizes the absolute, unknown, unknowable. And out of that, we, not being able to understand or comprehend that unknown, unknowable absolute, we say that there are 3 veils to it. And the teachers of the ancient wisdom have suggested that there are 3 veils. The first veil is known as the nothing. All our lives we are totally tuned in to things. We want to possess things. We want to possess titles, which are things. Our whole life is conditioned by things. Nothing is a concept that we don't feel at ease with, unless we have introduced ourselves to that concept, what it means. But it is a very powerful reality, because if you have many nodes in your bank account on the other side of numbers, on the right side of numbers, it means that you are very rich. If you have many nodes on the left side of the number, it means that you are not so rich, you are in trouble. And economically, as the system is creaking at the seams due to the fact that it's based on constant debt, there are not very many people that have lots of nodes on the right side. And so we need to realize that we break the patterns that limit, constrict, and create fear and separateness, and bring in the designs that can enable human consciousness to touch the abundance and therefore feel fearless in its presence and be able to express it and manifest it. So out of the nothing comes all and everything. So be not fearful of nothingness. It is the unmanifested out of which comes all and every aspect of manifested existence. Then the next veil is limitlessness. How can we conceive of limitlessness? That which is limitless, that which is infinite. And then out of that absolute nothing limitlessness condenses that which is known as the third veil, as the limitless light. So light is truly the first emanation out of that limitlessness. And then the light condenses into a point. And from that point, from that center, come forth the universes, come forth the existence, the emanations of all and everything. And so, the tree of life is truly a means by which we can come in contact with the source of our emanation. It is a means by which we can interpret the many biblical writings, the many mythologies, and the many riddles of the world. It is a means by which we can understand our own constitution. It is a means by which we can understand our own particular religion or philosophical stream that we have aligned ourselves. Madame Blavatsky constantly made reference to the Kabbalah and constantly highlighted the exquisite tradition that it is, belonging not to any particular religion, not to any particular peoples or races, but really forming the foundations of all religions. For all religions have certain symbols, and these symbols that they have, the Buddhist religion has the will, the Christian the cross, the Jewish the star of David, the Muslim the crescent, and these are all present here. There are crosses here, there are spheres or circles, there are all the symbols, the pentagram that we use, the six-rayed star, the pyramid that we use. They are all part of that collective archetypal design that we call the tree. And as we know, there are trees related to every religion. The Nordics have their own particular tree. The ancient Greeks, the Orphics, would speak about the tree that has its roots in the heavens and its fruits being expressed down here on earth. The Buddha attained Buddhahood under the Bodhi tree. Yes. In the Garden of Eden, we speak about the tree of knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life that was in the midst of the garden. St. John the Divine speaks of the tree of life in the Revelations, which is a scientific chapter about the tree of life. There are 22 chapters in the Revelations. There are 22 paths. If you were to count all those paths that link the spheres, there are 22 of them. And so each one of these paths is being revealed in one of the chapters of Revelations. St. John the Divine embodied it in ciphers and codes, so that for those that have eyes to see and ears to hear and the openness of heart to intuit, they can actually bring out the reality and then make use of it. But for those who are simply at the realm of concrete mind theological arguments, they can argue whether he means this or he means that, and there are many books written about all the different arguments of Revelations. But has any of these people that argued about it actually attained an inner revelation? Because that's what the revelation is about. It's about calling our consciousness to a state of vibrational expression that can invoke a revelation from above, so that we may know who we are, what we are, where we come from, where we are going, why we are here, what is the purpose of life, what is the purpose of existence. Because as I said earlier on, we had a workshop about the heart and the opening of the heart and the power of the healing power of love. I said that truly at this time there is a great need for our consciousness to realize why we are here, for its purpose, because most of us have substituted the real purpose for that of amassing ever more things to apparently make us feel somebody, to apparently make us feel happy, to apparently make us feel that we have accomplished, attained, achieved something. But that distracts us from the real purpose, which is self-realization and the unfolding of consciousness. And ultimately, this tree, this symbol, is so that we may learn how to draw the raw materials, like the tree draws the raw materials by its roots from the earth, and it produces very good fruits. So we, as a human tree, must learn how to draw our nourishment from our roots and then be able to express beautiful actions, beautiful self-expressions. A tree is a perfect symbol for the divine wisdom of involution and evolution, because you have the seed, and when you plant it in the ground, you have roots that come out towards the earth to draw nourishment, and a stem that comes upwardly, and that becomes the trunk of the tree, and then the branches of the tree, and then you have the leaves and the flowers and the fruit, and within the fruit there is again the seed. And the whole cycle can begin again and produce more seeds and at multiplicity. And so the one life expressing itself in the multiplicity of itself, yet being underlined by the unity, which is one of the great aspects of the Theosophical teaching. And so the teachings of the Tree of Life are really present in all the religions. We have what are known as the three pillars. You see, 1, 2, 3, again 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The three pillars emanating from the crown, from the top, from the point of light that has condensed from the three veils, as we have said. These three pillars are present in all religions. The Christian religion has the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The Hindus have Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. The ancient Egyptians had Osiris, Horus, and Isis. The ancient Greeks had their three also. Electricity has three poles, the positive, the negative, and the neutral. In human terms, these three pillars represent the three attributes of our consciousness. What are the three attributes of our consciousness? Creative intelligence, love, wisdom, and will. And it is these three attributes of our consciousness that these three pillars represent. The mind and the creative intelligence tends towards differentiation. So it's also known as the differentiating principle. The love wisdom always tends towards unity, wholeness, and cohesion. So it's known as the cohesive principle. And the will is really the energizing principle. So within our consciousness, we have that which is the source of all energy. We have that which is the source of all creativity. And we have that which is the source of all love and of all wisdom. And so consciousness is truly that which we are here to realize in all its magnificence. And everything that we do, from the moment that we are born to the moment that we die, it's really an attempt to express and have reflections of that consciousness so that we may know who we are and what we are expressing. These three pillars can also be seen in that sometimes people are more volitionally inclined. Other times people are more intellectually inclined. Other times are people more emotionally or lovingly inclined. But ultimately, we need to have a balance of these three attributes of our consciousness. So at any given moment in time, we can express in a balanced state love and wisdom, will and intelligence, in the perfect triangle that Pythagoras was speaking about. Pythagoras also used the Tree of Life, but he used it in the form of the 10 dots. 1 dot, 2 dots, then 3 dots, and then 4 dots. The sacred tetractys. These are the 10 spheres. Yes? The 10 numbers. And so Plato, that came after Pythagoras, said that God geometrizes himself in the universe. And mathematics is the most exact science. And so the 10 spheres represent the 10 laws, the 10 numbers, the 10 principles by which all manifested existence comes into being, by which all and everything sustains itself, and by which all living beings may attain their inherent potentiality in actuality. And so, when we use the three aspects of our consciousness in harmony with the laws, then we have health, we have well-being, we have harmony of living, we are expressing the good, the beautiful, and the true. But when our consciousness is not vibrating in harmony with the laws, it gets caught up in the fears of security and insecurity, in the pursuits of passions and desires, then it gets really in the realm of separateness, in the realm of conflict. And as Bertrand Russell said, humans have constantly a struggle of the conflict of self to self, i.e. the inner conflict, self with nature, and self with other selves, i.e. other people, other human beings. We have spent an enormous amount of money trying to subdue the conflict between nature and ourselves, and we think that we are in charge. But when a volcano erupts, when an earthquake comes, when a tsunami comes, then we know maybe we are not as powerful as we think. Yeah? We have also tried to create some very beautiful, pompous organizations calling the United Nations for Peace. There are so many wars all over the world, even today, as we sit here, because man is in conflict with other men, because we cannot see that we are all one. We cannot see that we are truly brothers and sisters, and Kabbalah teaches the reality that we are all one. And then we come to the inner conflict. And ultimately, all outer conflicts are but outward and visible expressions of the inward and invisible conflict. And unless we learn how to bring harmony, balance, and resolution to that inner conflict, we will not succeed in bringing an end to the outer conflicts. And so the study of the Tree of Life and the study of the Kabbalah is to realize how to bring an end to the inner conflicts. And the inner conflicts may be mental, emotional, or physical. It may be the struggle between the personality and the individuality. It may be the struggle for our own individuality, and then the struggle to be united and be part of the group. And all of these different struggles we experience at different stages in varying intensities. And so when a person has expressed a lot of their willpower, but not enough of love and creative intelligence, then they become a bit of a bully to themselves, inside bullying other things. No, you will not do that. But I like ice cream. No, you will not have ice cream. But I like walks in nature. No, you will not have a walk in nature today. You will do work, earn money to pay the debts for all the things that you have amassed, your possessions. And so we don't really apply our faculties to the real needs, to the essential needs. We apply our faculties to the artificial needs of society and the programs that we have been sold by clever marketing people. Yeah? And so we need to watch out, be vigilant, be alert, be awake, attentive, to see all the different ways by which society infiltrates its cords of control and manipulation of our minds, of our hearts, and our bodies, to think how they want us to think, to behave how they want us to behave. Who is the they? Those who choose the way of exploitation. Those who choose the way of inspiring people to go into debt so that they have you by the short and curlies, and then you cannot escape. You know, if you keep living beyond your means, ultimately it will catch up with you, as he has caught up with my home country, Greece, as he has caught up with England, and we are facing a serious economic condition here as well. And so we need to realize that if we continuously live beyond our means, then eventually we have to pay the price. Spiritually, what does it mean living beyond our means? Is what the Bible says, wasting our substance, wasting our energies, adulterating our energies, investing them not for the real pursuit of self-realization, but investing them in fulfilling one or other desire. But as we know, the fulfillment of desires do not bring happiness. See, in the tree of life, apart from the three pillars, you have the four worlds as they are known. And the four worlds are present in all the religions. The Buddha speaks of the Four Noble Truths. You have the four Rigvedas. You have the four castes in the Hindu religion. You have the four Gospels in the Christian. You have the four worlds in the tree of life. In the human sense, what are these four worlds? Our physical body, our emotional, our mental, and our spiritual. Our divinity, our spirituality, our individuality, our personality. What are these four worlds? These are the four underlying principles by which means all aspects of the universe, the manifested existence, come into being. First is that which is known as the realm of emanations. Within that is the vast hierarchy of beings, from the minutest to the highest, from the salamander, elemental intelligence, to the vast logoic intelligences of a solar logos or a cosmic logos. This is the monistic principle that out of the one emanate the many. Then out of that oneness emanates spirit matter and consciousness. And consciousness contains within itself the archetypal design. And so every living thing is come to existence by virtue of an archetypal design, of an archetypal idea. These Plato called the realm of ideas. The Kabbalah calls it the realm of archetypal designs, or the creative realm, from which all creative expressions come forth. Then you have the world of prototype forms. These veil the hidden light of consciousness that ensouls every form. It's known as the world of formations, and every form is but an outward and visible vehicle for the inner and invisible presence of light. And in the final analysis we will find that truly the evolution of forms is the evolution of consciousness, and the more evolved a consciousness is, the more light is able to radiate and demonstrate. So evolution will be found to be an ever greater radiance or demonstration of light. So the sun is more advanced than the moon, because it radiates light by which it sustains all and everything around it. And so these four worlds relate to the way that we as human beings can raise our consciousness from the outer plane, which is the fourth world that is known as the realm of outer appearance, inwardly to the realm of formations, to the realm of creations, to the realm of emanations, and thereby unite with our own I am presence that has emanated itself from the source. Each sphere also has the four worlds present in it. So there are 10 spheres, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And within each sphere there are 4 keys. Each one of these keys enables us to tune our consciousness to the particular aspect of God presence or intelligence that is related to that world. So, in the realm of emanations, we have a God name. And in the top sphere, the God name is the Eche, meaning the I am. That means that there is no higher God than the I am. no higher God than the I Am. Do you know what that means? That does not mean that we can all become megalomaniacs now and think that we are great gods, but that we are gods in the making, for we have emanated from that I Am that is God, and that when we retune, reconnect, reunite our personal present-day consciousness with that divine God consciousness, then we can truly say, as the Lord Christ said, I and the Father are one. For the Father of the Christian teaching of the Christ relates to that I Am. For he used that name every time that he spoke of a great miracle. Yes? Every time that he spoke of himself, I am the good shepherd. I am the way, the life, and the truth. I am the resurrection. I am the bread of life. So whenever he spoke about one of the great realms of its constitution, he will prefix it with the I Am. The 7 miracles also relate to the 7 I Ams. And so the I Am is the divine God name that is the highest, which can connect us with the source of our emanation. And the top sphere is known as the crown. And as we know, the crown sits above the head of the human being. And when a king wears the crown, it means that he has been ordained or given the connection with the highest authority, and therefore he receives the authority of being a king from wearing that crown, and the crown is the I Am. And so, at the creative realm, we have an archangelic name. The archangels are the co-workers in the universe. They are the great intelligences that form what may be termed the police system in the universe. For you think that there is no police in the universe? Of course there is. Behind every phenomena, there is an archangelic intelligence, and then legions of angels. And so, in the realm of formations, we have the angelic name. In the realm of outer appearance, we have the name of one of the 10 spheres that relate macrocosmically to our solar system here. I.e., we have the Earth, the Moon, we have Mercury, Venus, the Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. And somewhere it's also Pluto, but it is hidden, because Pluto was the god of the underworld, and he was hidden. And so Darth, which is another of, it's not a sphere, but it is a concept, relates to Pluto. So we have the 4 keys, but we must learn how to use these keys in each of the spheres. We know that in the ancient times, the highest authority of any peoples were known as the king. But a king must have a kingdom. And so the bottom sphere is known as the kingdom. The kingdom of the elements, or the kingdom of our world. And so what is our kingdom? Our kingdom is our constitution. Our kingdom is the home in which we live. Yes? Even if it is a room, it is your kingdom. And the goal that you have to bring in your kingdom is order. Is your kingdom in order? Or is there disorder? If there is disorder, then you are not manifesting appropriate authority as a king. There are different conflicting aspects, subpersonalities, arguing, fighting with one another. The desire wants one thing, the mind wants another, the spirit wants something different. And so we have these conflicts. And so ultimately, in each of the spheres there is a certain work that needs to be done to accomplish what that sphere has as a potential. And so 10 spheres are 10 states of consciousness which ultimately, when we realize their potential, we become a living tree, which St. John says that from it, if you eat of the fruit of the tree of life, then you shall know no darkness. You shall not walk in the darkness. You shall never fear evil. And the leaves of the tree of life are for the healing of the nations. And so, you will bring healing into your constitution. The tree of life is a magnificent symbol, for the roots of the tree can correspond to our physical form. The trunk can correspond to our astral. The branches can correspond to our lower mental. The leaves can correspond to our higher mental. The flowers can correspond to our Badic or Christ body. The fruit can correspond to our volitional, and the seed can correspond to the monad, to the one out of which all the others emanate. And so it can also be corresponded to the evolution of humanity in the great cycles of time. The roots can be corresponded to the savage stage, the trunk to the civilized human beings who live in a society, the branches to the talented human beings who have certain expertise of one kind or another. The leaves can be corresponded to the geniuses, and every now and again we do have some genius. Yeah? The flowers are corresponded to the saints, and is it not true that the saints are the flower of the human evolution? And the fruits are relating to the initiates and masters, the holy great teachers. And the seeds are the Lords, the Lord Buddha, the Lord Christ, the Lord Manu, those which are truly the pinnacle of realized consciousness in the spiritual hierarchy, and they anchor upon this plane of evolution all that is needed for all the kingdoms to evolve. And the sap that flows through the tree is life itself in all its embracing reality. And so you see, it is a perfect symbol of the tree, because the whole cycle of evolution is consciousness descending into matter, experiencing that limitation. For us, one of the teachers used to say, you can have no manifestation without limitation. And so the restriction of physical form limits consciousness, and to overcome that restriction, then consciousness must dig deep into itself and find greater resources by means of which it can overcome that consciousness of limitation and express the consciousness of freedom, the consciousness of liberty, the consciousness of abundance. And so each of the spheres in their four worlds have a God name, an archangelic name, an angelic name, and a title which refers to the planetary outer chakra or planetary influence. And so the titles of each of the spheres is, we said, crown, wisdom, understanding, mercy, severity, harmony or beauty, victory, glory, foundation, and kingdom. And what kind of a king would there be if he didn't have wisdom and understanding, if he did not have mercy and severity? That is where our education often goes wrong. We either indulge our children or we are too severe. And then we do not have that balance, which is absolutely essential, where we give enough mercy and forgiveness and generosity, but also the appropriate discipline that causes the human consciousness to know that there are laws. And if you break the laws, there is consequences. And this is part of the reality. When we really separate our consciousness from the universal laws, then we live like a broken leaf from the tree of life. Any wind can move us here and there. We are not connected to the source. Naturally, if we have the balance between mercy and severity, then we can express that which is beautiful, that which is good, that which is harmonious. And when we express victory, what are we expressing victory for? Is it to glorify our own little self, our self-created image, or is it to glorify the I Am, the source of our emanation, the highest, the most high? Because if it is glorifying the personal little self, then we become an outer star. You know, Michael Jackson was a star, Paul McCartney is a star, and all of these great personalities of the outer world are stars. But are they really true stars? For ultimately the fivefold star that we each are when we stand in a physical form, when we realize it in its fullness of its potential, does become a radiant star as a conscious presence. And for each of the 5 initiations that human beings take in the journey of their evolution, it is said the perfect star of the one great initiator shines above the candidate and discharges the power that confirms the accomplishment and attainment of that consciousness at the level at which it has attained it. And so the 5 initiations that are known that makes a human being a master or a liberated being relate to accomplishing the 5 attributes of the perfect star of our human evolution. And when we have accomplished that, then we become the star. And then we enter the higher evolution, which is beyond the human. Yeah? As entities, as gods, as living archangels. So the Tree of Life is not simply a book that you can read and now you know it all. It is not just a few symbols that you can learn what they mean and then you have attained all. It is truly a living, practical, step-by-step process which each human being needs to engage with so that they can cultivate and express within themselves that which can transmute and transform the raw materials that we draw from the roots of everyday existence and express them as compassions and virtues. What are the raw materials? Desires, passions of one kind or another, jealousies, angers, hatreds, all of these we can use, for they all veil the hidden mystery of will, of love, of creative intelligence, of our one universal consciousness. And so, truly, what the Middle Ages adepts called spiritual alchemy is an essential and an integral part of studying the Tree of Life. And in a spiritual alchemy, in each of the spheres, you learn what are the so-called weaknesses and programs of limitation, and learn how to change them and transmute them and transform them so that they become virtues. So the limitations in this sphere are rigidity and avarice. You know, this moreness that we were talking all about, where we express our consciousness to accomplish more and more of this thing or that thing, or accomplish more possessions of one kind or another. Well, This is the avarice, the greed. And greedy desire, says the Buddha, is the means by which all sorrow comes into existence. So if you suffer from yourself, not because God has punished you. The Buddha has the Four Noble Truths. All life is sorrow. The cause of sorrow is desire, greedy desire. There is liberation from sorrow. And the way of liberation is the Eightfold Path. And so, the four Gospels, the 40 days in the wilderness, the 4 days of Jesus in the desert are all relating to the realization of that. Physical hunger, when it is satisfied, it's only temporary and transient. Tomorrow you will be hungry again. Emotional hunger, for a bit of emotional titillation, when it is satisfied, whether you go to the play, to the cinema, or someone tells you how beautiful you are and emotionally you feel uplifted, it is only temporary. Tomorrow you will need it again. You will need some more stimulation again. Mental hunger, of satisfying your thirst for knowledge, your thirst for ideas, your thirst for any kind of concepts and ideology, is also transient. And any satisfaction of physical, emotional, or mental hungers are transient, and there will always be a chain reaction of wanting more. It is only when we are satisfied spiritually that all hunger comes to an end. For then we attain at one-man with the source of all and everything. And so we are not in want for anything. Like St. John the Divine says, you will not be in want of anything. You will be in the light. You will be for the healing of all and everything. You will be self-sustaining. For you will be a God in your kingdom, a king, true king in your kingdom. And so, the virtue is order in this sphere. Balance and order. And only when we bring order in our kingdom, yes, and learn to manifest discernment or discrimination in its spiritual sense. Not discrimination, whites and blacks, or females and males, and the rich and the poor, but discrimination of that which is real and that which is false. For there are so many falsehoods in the world that actually titillate the mind, inspire the human being, and actually arrest his development. And they all have an element of truth that adds validity to the falsehood. And the falsehood adds fascination and excitement to the little truth. And it is the most dangerous cocktail, which captures human beings, the instant coffee spirituality. Pay me $10,000 and you will be a master. I will touch you in your forehead and you will be illumined. You will be seeing, into the future and into the past. And there are so many of these things where you constantly come across, people who are caught in one movement or another, which is really, in its essence, a deception. And when we haven't developed the discriminative faculty, just right in the beginning, in the earth sphere, how can we demand to know what the I am is? How can we demand to learn of divine wisdom? We need to learn, first of all, to discern our own self-deceptions, our own self-created images, which really rule our kingdom. We all have a self-created image, have we not? And if your image works well for you, then you are a successful being. They even pay a lot of money, and they call them the image makers. And so, if you want a great, glorious image, go to an image maker. He will help you. But the point is to know what is your self-created image, and to not think that that is who you are. That is just simply a self-created image. It is a carbon copy. It's not the real. And all too often we get caught up with the images of things, not with the real. And so discernment, discrimination is the ability to know what is real and what is false. And this is one of the first prayers of the student. Grant me the ability to know that which is real and that which is unreal. Yeah? And then ultimately we will know how then to shift through all the great supermarket of ideologies, teachings, and religions, and home into that acknowledges the spiritual line of descent from the I am right through the great spiritual hierarchy into the outer expression and appearance of a teaching, whether it is a theosophical teaching or whether it is a Christian or a Buddhist teaching. These are true teachings from the spiritual line of descent, but many purport to be coming from the 12th dimension. And there are so many books now of all the great advanced aliens. They have no other business in the universe. They are all caught up with actually inspiring a few human beings down here in this outer little corner of the universe, you know, and these divine beings of Andromeda and all these magnificent beings of the Pleiades and of Orion. They all come here to find one or two people to make them their students. I mean, it's a joke, is it not? Why would such an advanced divine being come to just speak to one or two people that really, for what purpose? Yes. So ultimately, we need to use a little bit of the common sense that is perhaps not as common as we think, and learn to not be fascinated by such teachings, and know that ultimately, you know, the teachings that are true, they call you to attention, to become self-reliant, to become responsible, because greater knowledge brings greater responsibility, to learn how to observe without condemnation, without rejection, without indulgence, all the various aspects that you find in your kingdom, the subpersonalities, the jealous person, the angry person, the grieving person, the hateful person, and see them as your children, and without rejection, without condemnation, acknowledge them, and with a loving embrace, show them how to express themselves from these passions into compassions, into their higher alter ego. And what would you use to do that? Once again, you will use your creative intelligence, you will use your love and wisdom, and you will use your divine will. If you find that you have a condition such as anger or irritation in yourself, people, misunderstanding some of the teachings, say, right, grab a pillow and punch it, wah, wah, and get all your anger into the pillow. And then you lie and sleep on the pillow. And you reabsorb that anger. Or, you know, you express it externally, and the more you play the role, you maximize. You know that the law is the law of attraction. As you think, so you become. Whatever you vibrate, that's what you attract. So if you express the anger constantly, then you will draw more anger from the universe. There are banks of forces all around us. And as you give your check to the bank and you cash it for money, so you give your self-expression to the universal bank and you cash it for money, and the money is either more anger, i.e., it is the money of separateness or the money of oneness. Yes? Kabbalah also teaches you about money, you know. And the Jews who study the Kabbalah, they're pretty good with money. For they understand the laws, you see. And even money follows the laws. And if you watch the stock markets and the cycles and the currencies, they all work with waves, and they increase and decrease, and the laws are present within it. And those who understand the laws can actually manipulate them. And that is what unfortunately is going on. And many are making a lot of money by manipulating the systems for their own selfish designs. And so countries, individuals become caught in that. And some of you perhaps know about how derivatives and all sorts of stuff like that, which are manipulated systems that clever minds in the banking world have created, or how to rob other people from their produce. And so, yes, Kabbalah can teach you how to discern, the real means which give you what's known as the perfect deal, the perfect market, the perfect, where it's a win-win situation, where everybody wins, where everybody benefits. It is good for the whole, instead of only good for the one, the individual, or the particular vested interest, and everybody else suffers, yeah? So it is essential that we learn how to transmute these raw materials from ourselves into higher self-expressions. So if you are angry or irritable, as we said, how would you overcome this irritability, this anger? What would be the appropriate way of expressing it? Well, if you take the principle of grafting, do you know what the principle of grafting is? Every gardener knows what grafting means. When you have a tree that has strong roots, but it bears bitter fruits, then you take a branch of a similar tree, which bears proper sweet fruit, and you attach it, you cut it slightly, and you attach it by making a little wound, a little cut into the bitter tree, the strong root bitter tree, and then you bind it, i.e. you unite it, and the force that comes from that strong root flows, but now it actually gets redirected to the branch that was attached to the sweet-bearing fruit, and it will actually bear sweet fruit. And so if you redirect the anger towards compassion, and you create the channel for compassion, then you will actually start finding that the force of anger becomes transmuted, and it becomes the energy that can help you to be more productive. So if you are angry, go and dig the garden. Be compassionate to your flowers, to your trees, and you'll find that the anger is transmuted. If you are angry, then think of a project that you have, whether physical or psychological, and redirect your energy towards, because compassion, you see, compassion means not just sympathy, where you feel the pain of another and say, I'm glad it's not me that is suffering. Compassion means feeling the pain of another and seeing what is needed, and then expressing that which is needed compassionately and helping it to realize it. So compassion is a magnificent quality. That's why the Lord Buddha is known as the compassionate one, because compassionately he sees the sorrow of the world and why we are suffering, and therefore he endeavors to add the missing ingredient, the teaching, the quality that can enable us to free ourselves from that. So through grafting, through redirecting the energy to an alternative source, we can actually produce a different expression, because our minds become programmed. Grooves are created in our minds. And because grooves are created in our minds, whatever energy flows will follow the same grooves. If we wanted to follow in another direction, we want to create a new groove, i.e. a new program. I'll give you an example. Who is very good at spelling here? Spelling words. You are very good at spelling, sir. Okay. How do you spell the word silk? Silk. Yes. S-I-L-K. That's very good. It's right. You are very good at spelling. Excellent. So, can you say the word again? Silk. S-I-L-K. Okay. Say the word silk, silk, silk. Silk, silk, silk. And what do cows drink? What do cows drink? Milk. Yeah. you see what happened? The mind goes silk, silk, silk. It has created a groove. As far as I know, cows drink water and produce milk.
Very good.
No, don't be self-conscious, because I have given such practices to doctors, to lawyers who think that they are bright and intelligent, and they all fall for it. Because you see, the brain doesn't know, oh, he's bright because he has the title of being bright. It works in the way that it works. It's a program. And so if I can program you in just such a short space of time, how much do we become programmed every day of our lives by all the stuff that gets bombarded to us by TVs and by newspapers, by all the rest of it? So we think we are free. We are not really free. We are only free when we have liberated ourselves from all these programs. And study the tree of life. It's not an instant coffee, instant enlightenment, although potentially it can be. But for that to happen, you have to have aligned all your bodies, all your faculties to that inexhaustible source. Then it can flow unimpeded and reveal its beauty, goodness, and truth. But if not, then we have to be busy working out these kinds of transmutations and transformations of all those forces that will tend to separateness and limitation and conflict, to redirect them and create channels and programs that will work for unity, for wholeness, for cooperation. You know, when human beings meet one another, instantaneously the brain says, is he superior, inferior, or equal? Instantly. And if it is superior, if you are vibrating with separateness, you will try to avoid them. You will be fearful of them. But if it is superior and you are vibrating with unity within you, then you will admire them. You will want to emulate them. Yes? And if you find yourself to be superior and vibrating with love, which is the force of union in your heart, then you will be benevolent towards the inferior. But if you are vibrating with separateness and think of yourself as superior, you will manifest scornfulness. Who are you? You know. So constantly we are interacting in a world, and if we are vibrating with the force of separateness and meet equals, then there is competition, conflict, mutual injury. Who's going to prove who is better? Yes? Rivalry, in other words. But if we are vibrating with the force of love, wisdom, which is the incolliberalized middle pillar, yes, then you will manifest cooperative spirit. And so it is a good thing that our politics are changing. Yes? Because if there was that kind of a government where it had cooperativeness, we might not have ended up spending billions in wars and spending the lives of young men and women so that the Americans can have more oil, which is a fact. They had already pre-planned it before. And I'm not meant to be a political being, and I'm not really, but you know, it's such a well-known fact that it's not me that is saying it. There has been so many programs, so many scientific inquiries that have demonstrated that this was not for the good of the Iraqi people. Yeah. If it was the case, then why have they not liberated Cyprus? Why they have not liberated Zimbabwe? Zimbabwe doesn't have the amount of oil that Iraq has. I don't know of any more brutal dictator than Mugabe. Yeah. So come on. So let's realize that we have a responsibility to, even in our political life, to inspire our politicians with a spirit of cooperation. Because if they are too strong, then they can, once they got your vote and they're in power, then they can forget you and do whatever they like. The British people did not want the wars. Millions of them went out, you know, saying no, no, no. Mr. Blair, being fanatical in his whole commitment that he was the savior of the world, he got caught up in it. So we have a responsibility to vote for a system that really does take cooperative understanding of all the different views and endeavors to do what is good for the whole, not only what is good for a vested interest. Now, time is upon us, and so although this was an introduction, it is impossible in 1.5 hours to really go deeply into the vast field of what is the tree of life. I can only give just an introductory starter where it can give you the thirst and the hunger for the main course and the hors d'oeuvre later. Yeah? So if there are any questions, I'm happy to ask questions, and then we will break up and you can have some tea and whatever else. Yeah? Any questions? No questions.
Well, I've got a question.
You have understood everything. That's great.
That will be the Kabbalah.
Yeah.
Am I right also that we're carrying the Pico-German Dola at the time of the Renaissance Italy, which developed a Christian Kabbalah influenced by the Jewish Kabbalah?
Yes.
I think I'm right, aren't
Yeah, you are right.
a man called Pico-German Dola.
Mhm.
Was the man's name.
That's right. Yes, sir.
That's all I was.
Yeah, that's very excellent. It's very good. And there are lots of wonderful beings that have given to the world their own perceptions and interpretations. Gray is one of them. Dion Fortune is another. Israel Regati from the Golden Dawn is another. And lots of beings who have worked with it. The Cypriot Doctrine is a wonderful, magnificent book in which a lot of Kabbalah is involved. This book is the Kabbalah of our own sevenfold center energy stream, so the healing fountains of the soul. So it has meditations and practical means and ways of how to transform each of our centers of energy, where our consciousness is caught and is conditioned and becomes expressive in accordance with the programs that exist there, in becoming healing fountains and enabling to the expression of the abundance of consciousness. So if this is inspired by one of the teachers, which I put it down, and this is the publication that has come to print. And so if you have an interest to study, 40% of that goes to the Theosophical Society, to the bookshop here. And so if anybody has an interest and you would like to buy a copy, you are very welcome. It is £11, and the reduction that was suggested actually is the money that goes to the society, okay? So if you would like to have one, it will be a great friend and a very useful book for you to learn how to understand the programs that exist in your centers of energy that condition your self-behavior, that brings about obstacles and diseases and all sorts of things, and how to liberate yourself from them. Yes?
Could you say a bit about Blavatsky's intention that the Kabbalists misconstrued the locality of the Sephiroth regarding the Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, that they attributed the Godhead as being Jehovah, the Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh.
Yeah.
But she suggests that there was it was misconstrued.
It was misconstrued because
There isn't such a Jehovah.
no, there isn't. I will be very short with that. There are two aspects. There is the Jehovah as the tribal God of the Jews, which is really like an elemental intelligence that they have created, humans have created. And there is the four letters, just like the Christians have INRI, INRI, so they had Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. And these, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, is not the same as the Jehovah, the tribal God of the Jews. It is Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh as the four creative units of consciousness, which in their combination produce and create the universes, and therefore is the name for the creator. Okay? Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, which is different to Jehovah. So Jehovah is a title for the tribal God, but Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, in the same way as INRI, INRI, in nobis regnat ille, or igne natura renovato integra, or Iesu the Nazarene, ruler of the Israelites. Because we said that in the ancient times, the highly advanced beings were known as the rulers or the kings. So that's why they put INRI, Jesus, the Nazarene, the ruler or the king of the Israelites. Yes? As his title. But the real title of God is I am. Eheye, which is the I am. Yeah? I am that I am, says the Old Testament. So Yod Heh refers to the creative aspect which is in this sphere. Yeah? Not to the highest. Yod Heh. Or Inri relates to here, INRI, which is the four-fold aspects of the creative impulse in the universe. Yes, yes.
So can we assume that because of this misconstruing, that the Jewish people are worshipping the wrong, worshipping a tribal god rather than
well, it is those that are not aware, possibly have misguided devotion to the tribal elemental intelligence, which they call a god. But those which are aware of the Kabbalistic teaching and the real interpretation of the Torah and the real interpretation of the Psalms and so on, then they know what Yod Heh stands for, and they would never pronounce it. They will always use the other name, which is called Adonai, which is a title of the God name of this sphere. Yes, because they saw it to be too holy, too powerful, when they know how to vibrate Kabbalistically with those letters. For each of the letter is a unit of consciousness, of the cosmic consciousness, and when we understand its meaning and able to vibrate with its frequency, then we can also become co-creators. Yeah? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, all of you. May love and light be with you.
Well, I'm going to ask you to clap, so you preempted me, but I think we've had a wonderful talk, and Yiannis has come up to a wonderful standard as a teacher and lecturer. Thank you very much indeed, Yiannis.
Thank you
for trying to deal
for
with
inviting me.
complex subjects.